Okay, so we're live here, and I'm looking at some new things. We're going to talk about RX11 and the new Spectral editor, and the pros and cons, and the good, the bad, and all the little details about it. And I have a couple things I don't have a definitive answer on. So, but I'm constantly anyway. This is running great, and I think you're going to be impressed. So I'm talking about Studio One today. The same thing works in Studio One, Pro Tools, and Logic. I don't think the Pro Tools version is out yet. Or if it is, it requires the absolute latest version of Pro Tools. You have to verify that. I haven't run that version. This just came out yesterday in a release that's not even. I mean, I don't even think they announced it, but it's 11.1. If you have RX11, just go to your account and download the latest, and you'll get this if you're using Studio One. The Logic version does work. And then there's this minor controversy that I think is kind of it's one of those things that it's like whatever. By default, right now, Apple does not support in Logic the latest version of the technology that makes this work, and therefore it runs in Rosetta. So if you were running Logic, you have to run it in Rosetta mode on the new machines, all the M1, M2, M3 machines. Although if you're doing voiceover, I don't want to say it doesn't matter because, I mean, people pay for all this power and these super cool machines and then they run an app. But for 98% of the people, if you're doing voiceover, I'd say 99 point something, no one's going to notice the difference. I don't have 40 tracks going. If I'm working music and I have a huge set of effects running and all sorts of other things, absolutely, I'd want to be running in native mode. And Studio One supports native mode and has since, I don't know, a month or so from the time the first M1 chip came out. iZotope supports native mode in every one of their plugins in RX11. And then this one is a special plugin. Like, it's a crazy amount of work for them. And hats off to them for getting this working. I saw it, and I'm proud to say it was not on their radar to do this in Studio One. And because of I talked to one of their product managers approximately 9 months ago, plus or minus a couple months, and I showed him the Logic version and said, hey, we need this in Studio One. And then they did Studio One. They were going to do a whole bunch of DAWs, but here's the problem, and people don't get this. ARA technology is a technology that puts these two products together. But it's not universal because internally, every DAW has their own process for managing how the audio is displayed and played back, the playback engine, and the engine that's going to work with how the effects come in and what order they're in and how they're plugged in. Some effects have things like oversampling, and there's a bunch of internal things that happen within a DAW. So you can't just say, well, any ARA compatible is going to work with any DAW, because there are details within the DAW that make it work or not, and there has to be some coordination there, and it's really complicated stuff. It's way over my pay grade, but you're going to get people go, oh, why doesn't it work in Twisted Wave? Well, they don't support ARA, and then they don't support all the details necessary to make this work. And I will show you a couple things that are rather interesting that require the DAW and then the external editor to be talking in real time back and forth. They are interacting with each other in real time. That's what the ARA technology allows for, as opposed to a plugin is running in its little order, but it doesn't have to display anything on the page directly. It doesn't have to. So it's a very sophisticated technology, originally developed by Personas and the company that does Melodyne. It's pretty cool stuff. So let me give it to you. First, I'll just show you a quick example, and then I'll break it down and I'll record something new. But here's what happens. You have a piece of audio. Okay. Oh, by the way, volume is good. Volume is good. So anyway, Richard, thank you for letting me know. Okay. And Gary, thank you. And so yeah, sometimes my meters are looking good there, but if you see something or hear something, let me know. So here's what happens. I have a piece of audio. I usually do this one thing where I export all my audio and I run it through a batch process, and it's going to cover 95% of my processing. Then there could be a little tick or a pop or something that got through the batches. And if you do your batches right, I have run tens of thousands of files through batch processes for voiceover and all sorts of dialogue related stuff. And if you know what you're doing, you can safely run huge amounts of audio through batch processes. And I'll tell you what, the first 10,000 files, I listened to every single file after I processed them through the batches and hand edited out stuff that needed to be tweaked. So I got to, over that time, refine the way I operate batch processing so that I guarantee, because you do have this weird thing. I've hand edited thousands of files where I've gone through and listened to every single note and I've managed everything. But here's the funny thing that people don't ever seem to realize. When you do it by hand, if you sit there for an hour, 5 hours, I had days where I would spend 14 hours a day when I was younger doing this stuff. And what happens is you still miss stuff. Like I'll hear something in the high end, and because it's louder, it gets my attention. I fix it. I come back in a month later and I listen, and there's something in the low or the mid range that I had missed because I was distracted by something else. I was in a hurry. My dog came in my room. People miss things all the time by hand. People act like, oh, if I do it by hand, it'll come out perfect. It don't. I mean, here's the point of all this processing anyway. Our job is to minimize distractions. We don't need absolutely perfect audio. I am not perfect. Maybe you are, but I'm not in anything I do. If I'm going to play, I'm learning pickleball. I don't have to be perfect. I just have to be at the point where I beat, or you beat me. That's probably a better thing to do. You don't have to be the best player in the world. You just have to be better than me if you're playing me. Now, if you want to be a world-class audio engineer, I think you want to learn to do it all by hand so that you know what the tools do and how they work. But heck, for 98% of the voiceover people, their job is to be a performer first. The batches will take 95% of the stuff out of there. And then whatever little flaws are left, the distractions that are left, it's life. Get the beginning, get the end right, move on. Watch this. This is super cool. So we'll assume right now I have a little segment of audio. I right-click on it. I go to Event Effect. I go to RX11 Spectral Editor. And what comes up? This is exactly what happens when I'm over in RX and I have something that's sitting here. This is the equivalent of spectral repair. Okay, so if you don't know spectral repair well, get my course. We talk about it. This is the tool that's working in the spectral editor. We only have a spectrogram. We cannot switch back and forth like we can in the main program. I'm in the main program right now, and this is spectral repair. This is a spot cleaner. This is for taking out a mic bump, a dog bark, something that's in the background, a cat meow, all sorts of these little one-off things that, hopefully aren't in our audio all the time. We can run a batch that's going to clean up 98% of the stuff, and then we go ahead and we spot clean some other things later, and that's what this tool's for, and it's going to be based on spectral repair. If you know spectral repair well, you'll know how this works. If you don't, hey, learn spectral repair, and then it'll go from there. And that's what's happening here. The spectral editor is defaulting to attenuate, and then you have some items over here which are the exact same thing, and if you knew it, so let me move this over here. Let me get it on the screen. I'm going to get it over to here. Let's see. I want it showing up with Studio One. Now, when I minimize that, hold up. Wait. That's just, I'm not going to minimize that. I'm just going to click on this. Yeah. I can't, I know what to do. Pull this guy out of the way. All right. So you can see this over here. You have these, you have 3 sliders and a directional thing. There's 3 sliders and a directional thing. Okay. I did that really poorly, okay? And this is the funny thing about life. I don't have to be perfect. I would love to be perfect. I work at being better. I work at being better every single day. But I don't have to be perfect for this to have value. And it's the same with this. So you see there's 3 sliders. There's some direction of interpolation. Well, they just call that direction here. Hey, and actually somebody thought about this. I really like this. This is somebody who's thinking when they put together this interface, what they ended up doing was they said, direction. I have left to right, up and down, and I have both of them at once. Well, over here, they were in a different order because this makes less sense, because one of them is a combination. Someone thought about that, and I really was like, hey, that actually makes sense there. So here's what happens. I draw a little region, and I choose process. And what happens? It goes ahead and let me make it super strong here. Super strong, and I'm going to change this here. And if I make it strong enough and I process it a few times, you're going to see this. Now, what's happening here is I just destroyed my audio. No, there's a cursor here. If I go to my DAW in the background and I press play, oh, my cursor just moved here. Let me zoom in on this. Hold on. So I'm here, and I'm going to go back to by the way, my software there. This is my presentation software that just switched as I zoomed in. So you can see that zoom in thing here. There's my cursor. If I move my cursor in the DAW, it moves in RX. If I play this back, this is where it gets really interesting. I'm going to play this little sample here, and when I do it, the cursor will move. Let me zoom back out full screen. And when I zoom out full screen, what's happening here, this is interesting. It's moving. There's a keyboard shortcut that my presentation software uses that's conflicting with something that I have here in Studio One, and I'll have to, I didn't, that wasn't the case before. But here's the cursor. Watch what happens when I start playing. And now I've added a hum in the background. I just turned on RX11 and now I don't know if you use this generator to put some hum into here. I have a fan. Yeah, you hear how rotten that sounds? I hope that came through. I wasn't paying, not just on my mic. Let me look at my
just turned on RX11 and used this generator to put some hum into here.
I just destroyed that audio, okay? So don't do what don't be like Don and destroy audio, okay? But I just did change something, and if I knew what I was doing, or I was doing something, and I'll create a full I'll show a mic bump or a finger snap and something, and I'll show taking that out. But this is really cool because what just happened was I am allowed now to go in at any time on any event and just get a view. And this is the best spectrogram going right now. I mean, this thing, if people understood how good this thing is and the way it manages a bunch of aspects of it, they would be blown away. People don't care. They don't know. It doesn't matter. So point being that all I have now, I can take something out that's a one-off, a bump. I'm going to let the batch processes for me deal with all the details. You can run all the plugins if you choose to run any of the RX11 plugins. By the way, they all absolutely run in native mode. I have one gentleman telling me he's running in native mode. Now the product manager has gotten back with me with one of my questions, and he told me the general, because Apple is because Apple has not upgraded their technology in Logic. This product was morphed from the Logic version, and if I were the product manager, I'd want to keep the code base as similar as possible between the versions for Studio One, Pro Tools, Logic, and others that come down the road, because if they have to fix a bug or put a feature in, to go ahead and have to do it 3 or 4 times for the one little plugin doesn't make any sense. Their goal is to keep all these things the same. Even though Studio One would support fully native, if I go over here and I do this little plus sign here and I go to iZotope, then I can get all my RX11, and it shows up here as one of the tools, but I don't think you can run it as an effect. And if you do this, what is it going to do? Yeah. It's only available as an event effect. So it's working on events. It's not a plugin for the whole track. And it doesn't make any sense in that context anyway. So that makes sense to me that that's the case. And I can so let me do it from scratch, and then I'll take questions. See, I don't see any questions there, but when I get them, then I'll take them, okay? So watch this. Let's just record from scratch, and you'll see how it works in the real world. In the real world, I'd be out here. I have this track muted. We'll make it smaller so that and I'll make this track bigger. All right, and this is what would be happening here. We go right here, we'd be punching in, and then, okay, so now I'm gonna punch in here, finger snap, that's crap, but I'm gonna be talking, and then I don't do that. I just bump my table, I just pound it on my desk, and that'll be enough. So I have my voice there. Okay, so now I'm gonna punch in here, finger snap, that's crap, but I'm going to be talking, and then I don't do that. I just bump my table, I just pound it on my desk, and that'll be enough. Okay. So So what's going to happen there, obviously, is I have a piece of audio that's crappy. I've got some finger snaps and table bumps and whatever else. You know, you can't take out 100% of that stuff sometimes, but you can take out a part of it. And of course, if I go ahead and I pull my event editor here, then what's going to happen is you can see there's my little bump. And if I zoom in here, let's take this here, and I go ahead and I play it, and yep. So those are the 2 bumps. And here's the cool thing. I have, let's get this. Oh, by the way, I have a preset here. Let's go ahead. I have bad RX settings that I could choose here. And if I do that, that'll give me, it zeroes everything out. Don't do that. Let me hold it. Let me move this so that it's not obscured by me. So we get this over here. Bad. I just wanted to show that I can create presets. And I created a set called Bad RX Settings. It basically zeroes that whole thing out. And then I have one here that's just for testing it, okay? And you'll notice that over here, all these things changed. I'm gonna change this one to here. And here's my little bumps, and I highlight them, press process. There is a keyboard shortcut, so that means I could put it on I have a keyboard shortcut for that. And I do this in process, but I want you to know I'm processing, so I'm not doing it. And I really will take these whole things out, because in this case where I would just do the whole thing, process that. I'm going to be talking and then I don't. Okay, so that's a terrible fix, meaning that I didn't go through and get it all, but I could. And in the old, so this is just something I would have had to go over to RX to take those out. Oh, there's a finger snap here. Now those are massive. Now hopefully you don't have sounds in your audio that are that bad. Here's finger snap. Finger snap. Yeah, finger snap. But notice the cursor, when I'm over here, I'm just pressing spacebar to play things back. And you will notice that there's a cursor down here and there's a cursor in Studio One, and they're staying in sync. Finger snap. Okay, you can see it up here, finger snap, and I could go find that, so I can find what I want, process that out. Finger snap is going to be a lot less, not gone. I'll do a little more, and that one will be mostly gone. Punch in here, finger snap. There's a second one there. I can see it. Let me get more of it, and I could zoom in. Anyway, the point being, I'm just doing it quick and dirty here, but I've just finger snap. That's crap here. Here's some here. I'd get rid of that, and I probably would go and I'd be hyper precise. Okay, if I was doing this for real, I'd be more precise. I just want you to know. Chin here, finger snap. That's crap. So, and I see the rest of the finger snap in here, so I would go ahead and deal with that one. But what you can see is the point. This is really cool for spot cleaning stuff. And I have some other macro cool stuff that'll come down the road. There's some things that I've asked Personas for now. So, by the way, this was not even on their radar screen 9 months ago. So I'm actually proud that I'm the one that got this. And for you Pro Tools users, you can thank me too, because I did lobby for it for a bunch of DAWs. I wanted them to have a vested interest in continually improving this. And I knew the more DAWs they could get, the better off we would be, because that gives them incentive, because there's tons of people using it. So I lobbied for a bunch of them, and I found out afterward that it's not as simple as I thought. Oh, if you make it for one, you can make it for 20 of them. I thought they were going to take the Logic one, and it was like, why didn't you do it originally for Studio One? It just wasn't on their radar. So if you're a Studio One user, if you're a Pro Tool user, and so it gives them incentive. The more of us using this, the more of us talking to them about it, the more of us going back and saying, can we have it for this one or that one? But it is not simple. It's not something that they can just snap their fingers and go, oh, let's do it for Cubase and let's do it for pick your other DAW. It's not as simple as it seems. If it was, they would do it. They want this to run in as many things. The plugins run across all these different DAWs easily, and if they could do it and snap their fingers. But remember, this audio internally in the playback engine is something that's proprietary to every single DAW. How it plays back, the details, how it manages the effects, can they handle real-time effects while they're playing back? That's all a whole different thing. And keeping the cursor in sync. You notice that the cursor here is in sync, so they are actually talking to each other in terms of visuals. They're talking to each other in terms of other things. Like, one of the things you don't know, this is all non-destructive. Even though I have this now playing back without, when this plays back, I close this. I am not going to hear those finger snaps. Check this out. In here, Finger snap. That's
They're
crap.
still there.
But I'm going to be talking, and then don't do that. So I took out too much. I would fine tune that. I'm just trying to show you. I took out some stuff, but note it's closed. It's non-destructive. But when I'm looking at this, you have this whole other bizarre thing that can happen. So I can listen to it, fix it, and then if I want to, and I've got this on a macro button up there, but I also can undo the whole thing, and I have undo and redo here, and presets, and a bunch of other stuff that I'm not going over today. I'm going to add this to the RX course and the Studio One course so that people know that they can do this, and there are additional details. So let me see if there's any questions or comments out there. I don't see anybody asking a question. So what it means is this is available today. This will only get better. Currently, I don't have 100% the answer. I have one gentleman telling me he has never run any of his stuff on his Mac Mini Studio he runs 100% native mode. Now, I can't get him. He hasn't told me yet that he has actually run this. And if I understand it right, you may have to run Rosetta to make this work. You may have to run your Studio One with Rosetta. But I will say it again. The M1 chips have so much power, and you're doing voiceover and voiceover processing stuff. And if you're using the built-in tools with Studio One, I mean, they're highly efficient. And running in Rosetta mode, I don't think the 95% of the voiceover world would never know the difference in terms of, because those chips have power to burn, and they will go native once we get them. We have to get Apple to update Logic, and then we'll get something. And it is smarter for iZotope to say we're going to have as much as possible a common code base, because ultimately they have to support it, upgrade it. I've asked for other things. Okay, I have some other things that I first off, I ask. I'm just complainer in chief. What I get is a subset of what I ask for. It's kind of, hey, it's weird. I have the same thing in the rest of life. So I ask, and then they go, yeah, here's what we can do, here's what we can't. They've done a spectacular job. I have tested this. I was blown away that it didn't come out on day one. And I'm happier that they said, they knew of something, they pulled this. So let's see if there's questions. Woodpecker mode, he's pecking at my house. Yeah, that's, yep. Let's see. I don't know. So James asking a question here. If you go back and make a mistake or change your mind, I don't know if we use that. I don't know that. I don't know that answer. I'll find out and let you know. I don't know. First off, all the audio, the original audio is all there in S1, and so I could get that back in a heartbeat. Okay. I also can go in here, and it may take me a right click. I don't even know if I have this test button here. I may have this test button. Oh, testing editor. See, I was testing. So watch this. I have this. This is my current event, and I was testing, pulling this thing up and doing some other things with a button here. Oh, you can't see that. My picture's in the way. Hold on. We'll move that right there. And I will scroll over here. So I have this button here called Testing Editor. I was doing this all during the beta. And so I don't know, James, if the undo, but let's go look at the edit history. It looks to me, add load presets. I just don't know. I don't think remove effect. I could remove it, and I don't know what would happen. Well, here, let me try. Okay. I'm going to take this event effect and go to no event. I just took that off. Here, finger snap, that's crap. But I'm going to be talking. And so I just took it all off. So I don't see it in the undo buffer at first, but remember, I mean, that's the issue that people don't think about with this ARA stuff. You just have so many moving parts, and that's why it's not available in every DAW instantly, and there's complexity there. They would have to tell Studio One, and I don't know if ARA passes that information back to Studio One. I can take it all off. I can put it on. It was non-destructive. That part I know, and it's just bizarre. It's the right direction, and I hope they get it for every DAW over time, but that's a long process. they've just done a killer job with getting the first level working great. And as the numbers go up, we'll get more and more. And I have some other things I've already asked them for. So we'll have to see. So that's a great question, which I did not know the understand it. So Dale asked a question. If I understand it's not possible to record while audio is being processed in RX, man, I've done that 1,000 times, Dale. If I record, I've recorded. I mean, I'm not even exaggerating. I've recorded at least 1,000 times. Plus, my wife's done it where I've been recording. It is dependent on your machine. If you don't have enough horsepower on your machine, then no, you can't. Potentially, if someone has lower memory or they have and I'm talking even a machine that's multiple years old. This machine, I think I built it about 3 years ago, but I easily could be recording on this while RX is doing background processing with a batch process. Done that thousands of times. So yes, you could be batch processing and recording at the same time, but there are limitations. I mean, it does depend on your machine. RX is amazing in terms of the scheduling that it does. I'm blown away at the scheduling that's happening in RX when the batch processor is working, meaning the way it shares processor with other apps. If you load up the batch processor with 70 files, 70 chapters, it could struggle. If you load it up with 2, it'll do great. And so you may have to do 2 at a time or 4 at a time if you're on a lower power machine. But I'll tell you what, if you knew how many on these batch processor things I've run, 40 or 60 files all at once and then gone and done other things, including recording, that's just a function of the machine. And if you have a powerful enough machine, no problem. If your machine is, a little bit older, but I'm even talking on a 3-year-old machine. I'm not talking state of the art anything here. It's amazing what you can run in parallel while you're doing that. So you have both. I'm at RX running in context. Well, no, you could. First off, I guess I'm not clear on the context. If RX is running a batch in the background, you easily could go ahead and pull this thing up. This thing ain't doing anything right now. It's the only time it's doing something is when I press the process button. So yeah, you could be. So you're never going to pull this up while you're recording. That makes no sense because this editor is a spot cleaner. It's designed so it's not like you are running the denoiser in real time, but you can do all that stuff if you chose to as an effect on the track. I could be running the denoiser. I could run now, but some of it doesn't make any sense to be doing that stuff. You do that afterward. It's a lot smarter than running it while you're recording. And you would never be running that editor while you're recording since it simply doesn't make any sense in context. You're spot cleaning with stuff and having that, and you don't need it. It's one of those weird things where, well, I should say, I can't think of a use case where it makes any sense to do that. Okay? So maybe I'd have to know use cases. What's somebody trying to do in order to answer that question effectively? Okay? So, yeah. So Richard's saying he needs a D woodpecker. Yeah. That's called, maybe, could be a shotgun, but don't do that. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I have no idea how to get rid of those. Maybe you import some squirrels or something, and I don't even know if that works. Okay. I have no clue. Way over my pay grade. But if you think of it good, throw it in the comments. How do we get rid of woodpeckers? Okay, safely and environmentally friendly. Okay, don't pour gasoline and burn the tree down. That's dumb. There's got to be, or the house. There has to be a way to deal with them that's way over my pay grade. And I've taken out so many sounds in the background with RX over the years because people do come to me with weird stuff that they don't want to re-record. And we take it out. Woodpecker, you probably could tune the declickers to take out the classic declicker to take out a bunch of it, but that's a subject for another day. Okay. He's letting you know the bird feeder. Well, hey, there's your answer. Get some better helpers. Get your pets. You got a nice dog there. To go ahead and get some food out there. So I don't know. Once again, over my pay grade. So I hope you see things are improving. For the Pro Tools users and the Studio One specifically was not on their radar till my discussion with them. So I have two features in RX that are kind of the result of me. The mouth declicker never would have. I don't know. Someday might have happened without me, but it's definitely something that I was the genesis of the mouth declicker. My wife's voice was really, she was patient zero for this. And now I've got the Spectral editor. That's because of me. I saw it in Logic and I said, wow, they're doing it for Logic. They really should do this for other DAWs. And at first, it's like I went and I talked to him about it. I did a Zoom session with somebody and showed him what we're doing and said, hey, we want this too. And, originally they were going to do a lot more DAWs, but it just became the details of how the internal representations are not the same. So even though they had done Logic, they were not instantly able to do Studio One. And Studio One, by the way, is this company is the one that invented this ARA technology along with who does Melodyne? I want to say Celebrity. It's not Celebrity, but it's something close to that. Throw that in the comments. And would you run this before or after applying processing effects to individual events? I'd be running my batch processes first so that it's all 98% done. And then I would be running this as a spot cleaner. Now, on the other hand, if I knew there was a spot that's in there because I had listened to something, then I would go ahead and use this thing. To be honest with you, most of the time I'm going to have run all my batches first because the batches can be run. And as we were talking about with, I think it's Dale, that I let the batches do all the work in the background, and I'm recording, I'm doing email, I'm doing all sorts of other stuff while the batches are running. People that aren't taking advantage of the batches are missing it. To go back and forth 100 times in RX and Studio One, RX and Reaper, RX and Pro Tools, when you can run a batch that'll take care of the vast majority of the distractions without you doing anything, hands off if you set it up right, that's the way to go. And then if I needed to edit something, I would be going ahead and using it directly at that point. Okay. So for me, I'm going to do it afterward. Why? I don't want to listen to this stuff until after 98% of the distractions are gone. Okay. I don't even proof until after the distractions are gone, because that way, if I hear something that's wrong, and if I hear a noise, I can deal with it all at once. I don't want to have to go back and listen to it 4 times and do multiple passes. And if you have the batch processing dialed in, there's just an amazing amount of work you can do in the background without having to touch this stuff manually, go back and forth, do all that kind of stuff. And now with a right click, we can go ahead and add this at any time if we're using Studio One. The Pro Tools version, I'm not sure it's out yet. So we're at 11.1. This just came out yesterday. I didn't even know it was going to come out yesterday. They told us right after the product went live that there would be a beta before this and the Pro Tools version went out. And then there was no beta. I kept watching for this beta to come out, and then there's no beta. It just went live. And it's just because whatever they had was a very edge case when it didn't go live with the first one. I was shocked that it didn't go live the first day. And so now it's live here. And the Pro Tools one, I'll have to find out. It will be live. If it's not, it'll look the same, does the same thing in Pro Tools. And I know if it doesn't work native today, it will at some point. We got to push Apple. But now there's more people using it. They have more incentive to finish, add more features. They did add some during the beta. I was very happy with some things that they added for us in the beta. And so there's more details. And this is the foundational stuff. Best spectrogram that's going in the biz these days. Cool stuff. And let me look at any other questions. And if you're a first-time buyer, then for most people, they're going to buy Element. So Tom asked, first-time buyer, what you're going to do is you're going to go buy Elements if it's on sale, and then look for a cross grade. And you can do that. Unfortunately, all the retailers are the same. Go to our contact that's in the RX group, and at Sweetwater, sometimes you can get you like $10 more off of it. By the way, and I paid full price for RX the first time I bought it. It was like $400, and it went on sale 6 weeks later. And if you're doing enough work, then okay, I didn't get the discount that everyone else got on it if they had bought 6 weeks later, and I just paid full price because it does enough that it's worth it at full price. So can you save on it? You probably can. Go to Dave Dow at Sweetwater. He might be able to save you $10, but you can almost always buy Elements, and then there's a RX11 cross grade available, and it's going to save you some money if you do it that way. But you have to. It changes every 2 days because they have different sales. Normally, the retailers have the same sales as the loyalty offers, but check your account for loyalty offers. Check Sweetwater. Just check both of those. And there's other ones. I like Sweetwater because if something isn't installing properly, they have free tech support that's amazing because they deal with millions of musicians. So I buy all sorts of stuff from Sweetwater because their service is great. I don't need it very often, but when you do need it, it's nice. And anyway, it's worth it at full price. So, oh yeah, Richard, you had that right. I'll put that up there. I don't even know how you pronounce that. Salomone. Okay. No one's hiring me for pronunciation or proofing. That's for darn sure. All right. So I hope you guys have a fantastic day. This is the start of their next generation of stuff. I'm very happy with what they've done. Be sure to subscribe. Go find us on Facebook. Subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and like things. Pass this on to other people. And of course, hey, now I have super chats available. You can do that if you ever want. We're growing, and the more of that stuff, the more we're doing. I got a new interface coming soon. I have one of these new. What is it? It's a Quantum. I have a new Quantum interface on the way, and I'll be doing a review on that here real soon as well for the voiceover world. So hope you guys have a fantastic day, and of course, we'll see you on the wires. Bye-bye.